Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Very warm welcome. This is Spectrum Radio. My name is Edmond. Spectrum tonight we're going to be doing a look at the sample in the 20 why it's so shortage and your person got it down into what is look at the meaning of
DC draws lines, says DPC and DPs are no longer, in their own definition, they're no longer opposition parties. We'll talk about the ramifications of that. We'll talk about the war in Somalia and the war on terror in the region. A bomb blast went off in Nairobi on Monday. We look at what that means. A man is in hiding in Kampala after fleeing Nairobi. Apparently, he's the one wanted in connection with that bombing. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the slowed economy. It grew by 3.2%, estimated by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, which is the worst level of growth in 20 years. The last time it happened, 91, 92, 1.8%. We'll look at how it came to this level. Was it campaign spending in last year's election? Was it the Eurozone? Was it the dollar crisis? Was it what was it? We'll be looking at that. Our guests tonight, Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL, a pundit on political and social affairs. You're most welcome, Nicholas.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to all the listeners. But just before you go on to raise a particular concern, you raised the matter of the Al-Shabaab suspect in Uganda as a gospel truth. You might actually want to question that whole story first before you actually believe the police. All right. On many occasions, they have indicated things that have not come to pass, and so don't take them for gospel truth.
All right, we'll talk about that in detail. We're also joined by Mr. Charles Rwomushana. He's a former head of political intelligence at State House. You're most welcome, Mr. Rwomushana.
And the Almighty God is great.
We're also joined by Dr. David Mushabe. He's a lawyer, but he's also chairman of the Africa Rainbow Conference. That's a peace promoting NGO. You're most welcome, Dr. Mushabe.
Thank you, Edmond. And I'm tempted here to say Allahu Akbar because Mr. Rwomushana said God is great.
Well, your name is...
Good evening, viewers and listeners.
Well, we expect to be joined by Mr. Asuman Basalirwa, president of the JEEMA party. We'll announce him when
he's in a tough jam on a border.
Nicholas, let's talk about this African Legislative Assembly elections. Did it really have to come to this?
Well, first of all, let me just declare my interest. I have a brother who took part in the election and was elected, so I will let you know I'm interested.
That's
just one. I mean, don't care about his name.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we have very many who come from your place?
It's well, maybe I come from the West. You might want to investigate where I come from.
Please go on.
What you see is a facade.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that the other elections, in my view, in many ways, has reflected the state of our own politics in this country. If I were a movement guy, I would be celebrating. I would be dancing on the display of the opposition, this unity in Parliament. So I think many people out there have now seen the state of our politics, the nature of people in government, the nature of people in the opposition. That when it comes to the point that should matter the most, they don't care about national interests. They care about their own party and individual interests. You've had allegations about deal cutting back and forth. You've had allegations about telling lies. I think that the whole of this has played out in a manner that has made the opposition and government look like they don't care about the interests of Uganda, but care about the interest of the individual parties. Because I think Yala is more than just an affair. It's more than an FDC affair. It's more than JEEMA or DP. It's about the country Uganda. Because once you go to Nairobi or go to Arusha or go to wherever it is to discuss Yala business, you're actually selling the brand Uganda. You're negotiating against people in other parts of this region. So I think it is important to underline the fact that our democracy, our election, I mean, you saw the elections in Parliament, actually turned off to go and watch Charles Taylor being sentenced because it didn't make sense to me. It was not on issues, it was based on kind of just shouting march. No person campaigning put forward, in my view, the concrete agenda that they'll go and do in Arusha. It was just rabble raising.
Charles, did the NRM have to insist on taking 6 slots?
first and foremost, ask these MPs, do they know what East African integration means? Ask them. Those who voted, and probably those who have been voted, do they know what East African integration means? Actually, if you give them an example about integration, they would lose, they would fail. Forget about the qualification of being senior 6 or its equivalent. But to conceptualize what actually it is, and forget about the other idea of fast tracking the federation. They know. They don't know. And now, how can you pick interest in what you don't know? How can you pick interest in what you don't know? And that's why certainly the campaigners wouldn't have been on issues. Even if it's about expertise, there are certain individuals who shouldn't have lost in those elections.
For instance, who?
I don't think I need to mention.
Well, let's get some practice.
Yeah, like that parliament has been with Ben Wacha. The same parliament had voted Ben Wacha on several occasions as chairman of its parliamentary and legal committee, legal and drafting
and financial affairs.
Yeah, so but you see how he performed when it comes to voting for an independent. See how he performed. Now, then of course there are issues of fixing that you sit and you determine we are going to vote for so and so and so and so somewhere in the caucus. But the issue is, what are the issues that you considered? But for all the parties, even for FDC itself, what did they base on to vote Mzee Ruzindana? Indeed, of course, had won a case.
He created a profile.
No, had won a case. At least for me, you can say he had read the statute. But of course, there isn't evidence. We don't have sufficient evidence he had read the entire statute. He could have only read that provision.
All his lawyers had read that.
All his lawyers. Yeah. So in my view, what is central is whether, one, the country Uganda understands integration, whether the members of parliament themselves understand integration, and whether those who are elected also to be elected understand integration, or it's about getting jobs, or it's about getting their own get jobs. And that's why I think we have a problem. Then two, you can't go for integration based on this kind of thing, where others are screaming, we've lost, we've been Mr. President Basaro is about to say that I was a fraud. I say his face is not. His face is very good. Well, the entire position in the meetings, we boycott, and everyone is saying, for us, we are taking our percentage, this is yours to share, and we shall also determine, it is yours to share, but we shall also determine who shall also get it. That's also very interesting. Is that the foundation, is that the basis on which you are going to have an integrated integration that is supposed to determine how we tax, that is supposed to determine how we do investments, like this sort of oil refinery,
yes,
that we are having now is a project of the East African community. Now, if you are going to build a community that is going to look at security, that's going to look at the politics, that's going to look at the economics, that's going to look at infrastructure, well, is that the kind of person supposed to have? Is that supposed to be elected? For parliament, it's understandable. That's how our communities are. But this is a queen you have selected from the population. So it's interesting. But we shall have a rosary for them.
Dr. Mushabe. Well, listeners, we've just been joined by our third guest, the only president on the panel, Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, president of the JEEMA party. You're most welcome, Mr. Basalirwa.
Thank you, and good evening, all our listeners.
We'll get to hear from you. Of course, we also know that you wanted to be a member of that legislature. Dr. David Mushabe, talk to us about this election. Did it have to run the way it did?
Well, the lessons I took from that yearly election was that NRM knew what they wanted, and they galvanized their forces and the energy to get what they wanted. And the opposition, despite the efforts that they have been employing to unify and fight, sort of to say the Goliath, NRM, they are not able to unite. Still, their personal interests are undermining the efforts of unifying in the name of the country, in the name of the parties. But the most important thing for me which I noticed was that the whole process was became a partisan issue, partisan affair. Instead of saying, look, we are going to the East African legislature,
Yes.
what interests do we want to advance as a nation? See, for example, in US, regardless of whether you are an independent, Republican or Democrat, once you are in that White House, it is the interests of the United States, not the interests of the Republican Party or Democratic Party. That's what we are missing. If we are here in Uganda, I think the interests of the party may be relevant when we are campaigning to get into parliament. Even when we get into parliament, I think it is the national interests that we should be paying more attention to. At the East African level, if we try to export our domestic partisan politics into the East African legislature, we are going to undermine even our own national interests. Because Tanzania will come with one voice, Kenya will come with one voice. All of them trying to be congruent with the East African Treaty.
Uganda will also come with one voice. They all come from the NRM party, some people think.
No, these are 6 people.
Some people say the DP and DPC were selected by the NRM, rightly or wrongly.
Well, we are very good conspiracy theorists. So that might be true, but it might not be true also. But that is my worry. I don't think our members, the 9 members, have gone there representing Uganda. My impression that they have gone there representing their parties. And my fear is that whenever there are contentious issues in Arusha, they might not vote with one voice in the interest of Ugandans, all of us. That is my main worry. Now, with regard to the process, I understand Honorable Nandawa Mafavi says the process was illegal. What makes it illegal? Okay?
Yes.
That one is, while he says it is illegal, others are saying it was legal. Now, I'm made to understand that UPC nominated its candidates after 6:30. Does the treaty talk about what time you should close the nomination?
The UPC candidate, the party president withdrew.
The party president withdrew. So really, what we are missing here is to understand that, at least to appreciate that there is a thin line between politics and business. When we are going to Arusha, we are going as business people articulating the interests of Uganda. But these guys, I'm afraid.
What do you mean, business people?
It is about interests. Where the interests of the nation.
Yes.
A businessman does not pursue a fruitless venture.
Yes. He expects a return.
He sits down, calculates,
quantifies
and quantifies the expected returns. But for us here, I think we are subsumed in emotions. That is my biggest worry. And I pray that our members, our brothers and sisters who have gone to Arusha, when they get there, they remember that they are Ugandans, and they go beyond being Ugandans and reason as Pan-Africanists.
Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, president of the JEEMA party, you seem to have been very, very happy with these elections. What made you so delighted about the success of these elections?
How are you measuring happiness? I'm not very sure that. First of all, my party was not party to the elections. You know very well I convened a meeting of political parties represented in Parliament. When I convened that meeting, it was attended by the leadership. Dr. Besigye was there, the Vice President of UPC, Mr. Bosa, the Secretary General of DP, Matthias Nsobuga, the Vice President of CP, Sebina, and at my initiative, I invited the Honorable Mukasa Mbide to that meeting. That was Wednesday last week. And we agreed to boycott this election in a meeting which I chaired. And we said we should inform the country. So on Thursday, I actually drafted the press statement. And the leadership I have mentioned signed. that press statement. On Thursday, we called a press briefing to inform the country of the decision we had taken. And again, all the leaders, first of all, did sign that document, and two, the leaders did attend that press briefing. Unfortunately, on Friday, I began hearing rumors that people had reneged on the understanding we had reached. Again, I took initiative. I rang Ambassador Tunu. I couldn't get to him. I rang Dr. Besije. I got to him, and he told me I'd also had the same. I go to Matthias Nsubuga. He explained to me what had transpired. I go to Ken, and he also explained to me. And I told them, you guys, you look, we did agree on this element. If you are reneging, JEEMA as a party, we are going to maintain the principled stand. If you decide to renege on the agreement, the public is going to judge you, but you will never have any integrity again in the minds of the public.
Telling your fellow presidents.
Yes, so as JEEMA, the party I lead and which I speak for,
yes,
we took a stand not to participate. Now, I have heard people saying that whereas it was true there was an arrangement, there were some underhand and subterfuge methods being employed by our colleagues elsewhere. And I'm saying that even if there was a change of mind, even if there was a change in position, I think courtesy and morality demanded that they get to us, especially me who was a convener. Because at the end of it all, these parties are independent entities.
Yes.
Nobody is bound by a collective agreement. You can as well sit and take a new direction. So what was important was for them to come back to us to say we have reconsidered our position. In fact, if they had come back to us, most probably we could have all consulted our respective organs and colleagues at short notice, and we could have all reconsidered. But the fact that there was an agreement and some people were engaged in very hypocritical moves killed the whole spirit, undermined the cooperation, and certainly made the entire election a laughing stock in as far as...
If you could just help the listeners tell who exactly was involved in this hypocritical move, what you call hypocritical, who are these?
Those who are engaged, there is nothing like...
Who are they? Let us know who they are.
No, I am telling you that the political parties represented in Parliament, we had a meeting. I'm the one who convened that meeting. I'm the one who chaired it. So whoever participated in that process against what we had agreed on,
all right,
okay, reneged on the obligation, and because the point I'm making is that we took a principled stand, and
you use many words to say DP and UPC have betrayed your position. Who is to blame here?
I don't say DP and UPC. Let me tell you. I have also information.
Yes.
That FDC nominated a candidate. In fact, when I rang Dr. Besije, I asked him that I have information that you have nominated a candidate, and he explained it to me.
What did he say?
Even when it came to CP, I rang Ken, and he also explained to me. In fact, for the case of CP,
yes,
the regime in power was just playing with the divisions in the CP, and they successfully manipulated those divisions.
And so, if I may, Mr. President, if I may,
very briefly, let him wind up.
And for the case of FDC,
yes,
it was apparent that the person who had been nominated had done it in a fraudulent manner. Okay? There was fraud.
Was it Ruzindana?
Not Ruzindana. It was not Ruzindana. It was somebody called, is it Dramatic?
Dramatic.
Yes, because
but they forced him to withdraw apparently.
Exactly, because it was he did it through fraud. The Secretary General of FDC, Dora Balaso, was in Katakwi,
yes,
for the burial of Cuthbert Obwangol. Okay, and in fact there is an investigation within FDC to ascertain who actually forged the signature of the Secretary General. That's why when she came back, she said, I have never signed that document, and it was withdrawn.
All right.
So those were the
intended.
So
yes,
go on.
Those were the circumstances, and that's why I said in my telephone
to Dr. Besigye, I asked him.
Yes.
That whereas you are saying you have had the DP and the CP doing that,
about FDC?
I also have information that the FDC
All right.
has actually nominated.
Nicholas, let's look at the opposition is effectively in disarray. Nicholas.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, depending on who you listen, there's just no truth about this. You know, there's all sorts of accusations, letters being shown to the members of the public. You just can't get to the bottom of this. I think we need time to be able to discern what happened.
Do we really need to go into that? Does it
I think
have
we
any
do.
value?
I think we do, for the sake of our democracy. But you see, hearing all of this, what is the leader of opposition in parliament? How would Asuman, who is not in parliament, convene a meeting of opposition, determine elections going on in parliament? You know, what happens to the Honorable Mushabe? I think there's a problem of leadership in the opposition in parliament. I think that coming at a time when Mushabe's leadership is being questioned, all of this happening
Over other things,
yes, of course, which are related. Management of the opposition in parliament speaks volumes about the nature of the opposition in parliament. The thing is then, what worries this country is, do we have an opposition in parliament that is capable of keeping this government in checks? I don't think so, because what has happened demonstrates for you a lack of consensus in among the opposition in parliament to hold a common position, because all of them are cutting deals, they're all fighting for their own individual interest. Now, Mushabe actually made a very scary statement. I'm going to show you I have power. You can see that kind of attitude speaks of a person who is perhaps drunk with power, who wants to,
But we used to say those things as children. You must remember, as children in high school, we say, I will show you.
Or kids.
What's wrong with him saying
about a national parliament here? Well, you have to take matters more seriously. If you begin to run the opposition in parliament the way we used to behave in high school, you don't deserve to be in that house. You don't deserve to be in that leadership. I think the biggest mistake the opposition made was to appoint a leadership in parliament that was contested. There was no consensus about it, and this is just a result of what happened.
This is Spectrum on Radio 1. We're going to go for a break. When we come back, Charles Rwomushana, the young man, has engineered all this. He will ask you to explain. Don't stay tuned.
When Junior lost his appetite, his mother tried all methods to get him to eat. She tried scary stories.
Eat, Tommy, eat, or the big black elephant will come and eat all your food.
She tried magic.
Tommy, if you eat your food, I will turn this handkerchief into sweets. Look, bumble, bumble, boom, boom.
Then she discovered Apetol multivitamin syrup with lysine.
Mommy, I finished all the food. I am number 1.
Apetol multivitamin with lysine is helping mothers to turn mealtime frustration to a fun moment. Apetol has a great taste and contains lysine, which quickly improves your child's appetite and supports healthy growth. Apetol, help for life.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. When was your last confession? 3 months back. What has happened since then? I've been cheating, Father. With who? I've been receiving more Orange internet than I pay for. That is not a sin, my son. You know Orange gives you up to 50% bonus every time you renew a mobile internet and internet everywhere package so that you can upgrade your satisfaction.
Orange, Uganda's #1 internet provider, knows you have a lot to do online. That's why we give you up to 24 GB of free internet. Upgrade yourself with 50% bonus internet every time you buy a package for your modem or a phone. Terms and conditions apply. More changes with Orange. Today, changes with Orange.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. We're reviewing the week. Some of the issues we're looking at the East African Legislative Assembly. Did it have to happen the way it happened? The NRM has 6 MPs. The opposition, they think the NRM chose for them. Who else was to go to Arusha? Even from the opposition, DP and UPC took part, and there was also one independent. Rwomushana. Our guests tonight, I need to announce that Mr. Asuman Basalirwa, president of the JEEMA party, Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL, also Pundit on political and social affairs, Mr. Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House, and Dr. David Mushabe from the African Rainbow Conference. That's a peace-promoting non-governmental organization. Rwomushana, you people in the NRM planned this all, and you want to tear the opposition.
Just to mention, the doctor is not a doctor of medicine; he's a lawyer. So
LLD. There are not many lawyers with LLD.
That's how learning friends are.
Go on. Why did the NRM do these kind of things?
You see, it's not the NRM. I don't think it's the NRM that did this, because the parties that were contesting were all NRM. That was FDC and NRM.
Come on, just
go on.
FDC is another branch of NRM. Yeah.
Go on.
You can listen to President Basalirwa and that, but they're not FDC. There are committees in Parliament, very, very important committees in Parliament that are given to the opposition, that are a preserve of the opposition. And the one I can recall very fast are PAC, Public Accounts Committee, and the local governments accounts committee.
Yes.
I think that even the parliamentary commission.
There's one with state enterprises.
Yeah. Now, all of these committees, you can look at who takes these roads.
Who takes them?
It is FDC. But is FDC the only party in Parliament? Why can't FDC have that courtesy to share these positions with the opposition, with the other political parties?
Okay.
And of course, they're going a lot of fringe benefits. I've seen most of them being driven in our cabin pickups, like resident district commissioners.
Charles used to be.
Now, that's larger point. And the Forum for Democratic Change has had all the threats of the opposition in era for I think almost 10 years now. 5 years. They never complained. They even never shared with the other opposition.
Right.
Now, so this shows you what FDC is. But FDC had realized that under this new arrangement, they are not going to have these seats. At least it's going to be extremely very difficult to even get one slot. And they therefore engineered this kind of
FDC
of boycott. They are the ones who engineered it. And the DP finally joined the NRM. And it's not new. In 1986, the Democratic Party joined the NRM.
In 1980, after the election.
No, I'm talking about 1986. All there are very many that joined. Savannah Chisto and the others. They joined NRM and they shared slots. Now, they are now on the road to joining NRM and share in the
opposition.
And which I think is good. And the Basalirwa should also join as quickly as possible.
Doing what?
NRM and let's move forward.
Dr. David Mushabe.
Now, dividing DP also is not new. FDC divided DP into two camps. There is the camp, the faction led by Mao. Then there is also the other faction where you have Rukwago and Namboze. Then you have this and other group aligned to Mengo. Called the Suri. Of course, you know Suri belongs to FDC. Even when you are working to work or working to work, these days they don't invite Mao. It's all science.
All right.
Now, and DP has beaten them at their own game.
I want to move forward. Dr. Mushabe, I'd like to talk to us about what you think it says about Parliament. But listeners, this is Spectrum. I said that earlier on Radio 1. You can send your text messages tonight. You might not be able to call in. What you do is type the word Spectrum in your phone browser, message, question or comment, and send it to 7197. That is Spectrum, the one in your phone browser, message, question or comment, send to 7197. It will be read on air. Dr. Mushabe, what does it say about this Parliament? They've been cooperating. Are we going to see an end in that cooperation, busting graft in the House, the UPC, I mean the political party, the opposition, allying with the NRM? Is that going to end? Those nice press conferences we saw at the lunch hour news sometimes.
Cooperation is a facade. You see, in politics, they say there is no permanent enemy, but permanent interests. So I think eventually what is going to determine the future of this nation is what interests do we have in common. What interests that the opposition have with the party in power. As far as the ELA is concerned, for me, I don't think that the issue of power sharing with respect to various parties would be so paramount. But the people we send there, do they have the capacity to articulate our national interests? To that extent, I would advocate for meritocracy.
Well, but I mean, we've agreed that, well, they're already there anyway. Let's pray to them. Maybe they'll be able to metamorphose. But yes. Let's talk about the opposition in power. What kind of landscape are we going to see?
Well, the NRM is
are they going to cooperate on other issues, or was it just ELA?
I think they are going to cooperate on other issues because I believe, and I believe that there are other deals going on.
Let's get the document signed by DP with the NRM and UPC. So, you know, would have joined the opposition of
I don't think it will be formal cooperation. I think there will be informal cooperations. Yeah. And
no
informal alliances.
As long as there is no eating.
Yes.
Competing for eating, they will never cooperate.
You know, Edmond, for me,
that this division has run too deep, and I think just to cast a gloomy image, I think that we are going to see a deeper fracture within the opposition. I think that the FDC is going to sail it on its own because I think that they have lost the support of the Asumans of this world, the DPs of this world, and I think that the FDC is going to just occupy the opposition space in Parliament and not allow all the rest to be a part of this process. Any cooperation is going to be individual level cooperations, but not at a party level, because this division runs very deep.
Edmond, when you look at the history of NRM, its strength has been its ability
to swallow up other people.
And corrupt, manipulate, and swallow up.
Even manipulate? Do they manipulate people?
Yeah, in politics. We said manipulation is there, you know. So, but in 1980, I remember when opposition sat down and they said, let us boycott the elections. DP, said, they joined. So this.
They went to Parliament.
I sympathize with my brother Basalirwa here. See, the opposition sitting on the side and saying, let us boycott. I do not believe even a single statement that comes from any one of them, because poverty plus money equals no opposition.
That's scientific.
Yes, if we are looking at the squad, we are looking at Albert Einstein now. Go. Seriously, let us accept that we are living in a third world country whereby poverty is abundant. I was reading a book by Dr. Deepak Chopra, which is talking about the 7 laws of success.
Yes.
He talks about self-reference and object reference.
Yes.
Now, object reference is whereby people are defined by the titles they hold and how much money they have in banks.
Yes.
Now, in our politics here in Uganda, it is dominated by object reference.
Yes.
If I'm addressed as honorable, I feel like somebody. Tomorrow, if I'm really honorable, I'm a nobody, and therefore I have an insecurity and there is a crisis within me.
Yes.
But self-reference is about whether you are a parliamentarian, a doctor, a billionaire, you just know you are worthy.
Right.
Now, these members of parliament who are able to be manipulated and give concessions here and there, they are driven by object reference.
As Mandasa, should Mandela Mafawi, leader of opposition, have expelled the DP and UPC from his cabinet?
Yes. I have no objection to that.
He did the right thing.
He did the right thing.
What do you think is going to happen in this case in Arusha? Talk to us about that as well.
Let me first finish with the Mandela Mafawi. I have written an article asking whether there is collective responsibility in the shadow cabinet. Because what we're aware of is that these guys sat and agreed.
In their cabinet?
Yes. So what should have ideally happened is that either the shadow ministers should have resigned, or the other option is if they don't resign, they should be fired. So because they didn't resign, over the stands taken by their respective parties. The leader of opposition had no choice but to expel them. So I absolutely have no problem with that. Number two, people are talking about divisions. In my view, these divisions are not deeper than the divisions we had prior to the election of 2011.
Yes.
The efforts at IPC, the departure of UPC and DP from the IPC fractured the opposition so much that one wouldn't imagine that even the percentage we got, we could have gotten it. So, but after the election, I'm telling you, we had a series of meetings as opposition with all these leaders at various places in this country, and we were able to come together and agree at certain things. So, for me, I think this will equally come to an end. I have seen more divisions in the opposition. Some are latent, some you may not know, some you will know. I don't consider this to be the deepest. So we will come on top of the situation at the end of it all.
People will change their language towards the FDC.
I am sure. In fact, I have taken the initiative. Now, yesterday I was telling somebody, I've taken the initiative. I'm going to write to these leaders.
Or do a barbecue in your garden.
I'm going to write to these leaders to call them again so that we find a way forward. Now, David is talking about really the absence of principles in the opposition. You know, people say politics is a dirty game, and that's a common adage. I and David went to school together. We have known each other for a very long time. But I think we should really begin looking at parties and individuals in these parties differently. I have told you that as JEEMA, we have maintained a principled stand. We are proud of it. We will move with it. You have asked about this case in Arusha. Yes, I still think there is a strong cause of action. In my opinion, Article 50 was not adhered to, and I think it would be important for court to help us understand
for the future.
Probably, not even for the future. By the way, if court discovers that the Parliament of Uganda did not respect Article 50,
they'll send them out.
They will nullify the election.
They might do that before they are paid. What will they do with their salaries?
No, but that is unfortunately, that is the law. They will have pocketed the salaries.
They will have got the vans.
They will have got the vans and everything. But court will have made a declaration.
Let's go to Somalia right now. Nicholas Opiyo came closer. A terrorist bomb attack in Nairobi, in Moi Avenue, right in the heart of the city. Kampala is on the alert, saying one man is supposed to have crossed the border into Uganda. What's the landscape like in the region?
Well, in matters of security, I think Charles is more senior, but I'll just say this. I'll just say this. Two things. I think that we have entered into a habit of consuming the IGP's press conferences and assuming it's the truth.
Well, but the Observer had a story which appeared graphic, and it looked like everything was, maybe you haven't seen it. It looked like real. Someone crossed.
You were quoting the IGP. You see, it's the same IGP who said that the opposition had taken people to training in Afghanistan. They had brought terrorists here. It's the same IGP who had said that that they have identified somebody coming into the country 4 months ago, never arrested. He knew the person was coming, knew his movement, knew his plan, didn't arrest him. So I'm a bit hesitant about those information. I think the timing of it is curious because the IGP has in the past peddled lies. I must admit, and I think that what I think is of concern is the entire issue of terrorism in our region, and the reason why we have all these activities in our region. I think the porous borders, the rather overzealous involvement in conflicts beyond our borders in a manner that is
well, but sometimes you don't have a choice. Nairobi had stayed out of it. They were forced because tourists was killed at the
you can see a nexus between Nairobi and going into Somalia, quite evident.
Well, they stayed out, but they were invited in courts by the Al-Shabaab when they hit on their doorstep.
That's the point I'm making, that you can see a nexus between Nairobi and getting involved in Somalia. In Uganda, the nexus is so remote, apart from
they attacked us during the World Cup, didn't they?
But we were already in Somalia by then, you know. We had gone there long before that. In fact, the attack was as a result of our involvement there.
All right.
You know.
Okay.
So I think that what needs to be examined is what is our interest in the region? What are we doing in Somalia? Is it worth the blood of our innocent people?
So let's hear from David and then we'll hear from Charles.
Well, Edmond, my question is, who is behind Al-Shabaab? Because I've talked to some of my Somali brothers. They are also puzzled. They say, these guys, they seem to be like a handful of people. But somehow, they are not finished. The war is fought, it stops, it is fought, it is stopped. And they are also puzzled. They don't know who is behind Al-Shabaab. And how many are they? Are we looking at a small group in Somalia, or we are looking at probably some other bigger shadow brother somewhere? Who is financing them? So we might be fighting a war of which we don't know who the sponsor is. And why should we be worried about one person crossing into Uganda?
Well, it takes one man to do a lot of havoc.
Yes.
It takes many to do.
Exactly. So I think for me, those are the questions we should ask ourselves.
All right.
Now, why should we be the target?
Okay.
Are we just 5 targets or not? Then, if we are targets, are we just fine to have made ourselves targets or not?
Well, did we make ourselves targets?
That is the question I'm putting.
Charles Rwomushana, you started about these security matters.
Al-Shabaab, as a force, it has engaged and survived more than 4 state armies. Ethiopia is no simple force.
Yes.
You have now Kenya, you have Uganda,
Burundi,
and of course Burundi, and then Ethiopia second round. Actually, record shows that Ethiopia was beaten when it was I mean, I shouldn't say it was beaten, but it sustained heavy losses when the first round. Now, why would such a force that is capable of engaging the Kenya National Army pass behind the Kenya National Army and go to throw grenades? Yes. More especially when it has huge Somali communities, because like literally there are I think more than 2 districts who are Somalis.
Yes.
The Somalis control business in Kenya, so there is sufficient cover for the for the Al-Shabaab agents or Al-Shabaab soldiers to infiltrate Kenya.
Well, but some of them, of course, are not Somalis. Some of them are actually, they've recruited some Kenyans apparently.
Oh yes, yes. So why don't we see that force engage Kenya security forces? Let's hit one patrol vehicle or attack a police station.
Their job is to do terrorism.
But I mean, you need to analyze this very critically. Yes. Because if you are looking at a very small and weak force, remember this is a force that is engaging 10,000 UPDF soldiers. But it takes 10,000 UPDF soldiers or about to capture Mogadishu from this kind of force. And then you say that this force now come and begin throwing a
What's your reading of it?
I mean, you need to read deeper because there is you know, I'm very suspicious about but anyway, we're on Radio 1, we're on Spectrum. Now look at the force that if it was Al-Shabaab and it has thrown grenades in Kenya, all regions of Kenya literally have been hit, all active, economically active regions. The West has been hit, Nairobi has been hit, and even Mombasa.
Yes.
Now, and you have an agent, or an alleged agent, who has been doing this, and is going to travel and come to Kampala, for whatever reason. And the mode of transport that is of choice is the bus.
Public transport.
Is the bus.
Yes.
When he's seeing, I don't know the car of the bus. When he's seeing placards advertising him everywhere around the world, then he goes to the bus stage, the bus park, and enters the bus
as well.
and probably sits behind. Now, and then you have him leave the bus near a roadblock.
Okay.
Then I don't know why he's in the border to bypass the roadblock, and then the bus steps ahead, and then he boards.
What's your view on that? It sounds suspicious. You don't believe it?
No, you see, Jeremiah chapter 39 33 verse 3 says, upon the road and he will ask, and show me very mysterious things. So I'm going to show me these mysterious things.
So I'd like us to talk about the economy.
Well, these matters of terrorism, we always leave them to...
Let's talk about the economy. Inflation has fallen to 18.6%. The economy has fallen to 3.2%, the lowest level in 20 years. The last time it happened was in 1991-92. It grew by 1.8%.
Yes.
And after 3.9, and then the next year it jumped to 7%.
And the rate of economic growth?
It's gone down to 3.2%.
Exactly. I think when we are really tabulating these figures and making them meaningful to our people, it's really very important for us to appreciate what is going on in the country. It is true inflation is going down, but at the same time, economic growth is at a low ebb. Now that speaks volumes for the consumers and for the country. One of the problems we have as a country is that we have really mismanaged our economy. There is a global crisis. You see what is happening in the so-called PIGS countries,
Portugal, India,
yes, even the so-called BRICS now. You know,
yes.
Brazil,
Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
The challenges are in those countries. What is unique in our country is that we have a global crisis which is impacting on our country, but our response...
But there's also campaign money.
Yes,
was from 6.4 in February last year to 11.4.
Now our response to that crisis becomes very hopeless. I'll tell you, for example, that whereas other countries were working across to ensure that they address the economic situation, for us, our policies here were exacerbating the economic situation. For example, there was no need for the president to have such a huge cabinet amidst this economic crisis. You saw in the budget, they said they were going to limit adverts, buying of vehicles, but that is exactly the opposite. We have a president who is now a burden to the country.
What do you mean by
the supplementary budget for his office,
House, yes.
for State House? So you have a president who is a burden to the country, okay? And you keep asking, where is this money going? Why on earth can the president or his office scale down on his expenditure? I told you here, when Kenya was faced with a similar crisis, the measures were different. For example, about 2 years ago, Kibaki had to sign what they call the Essential Commodities Act.
Yes.
Where they agreed on the ceiling of certain commodities.
Right.
Here, you would only see an increase in public administration.
And of course, they built a cheap state house. They built one for only $1 million. Charles Rwomushana, the economy is in a tailspin. Well, maybe not a tailspin. It fell to 3.2%. We're probably in a recession already. 2%.
Yes, don't worry. When NRA was fighting in the bush, and there would be challenges, the soldiers would say, Mzee atapanga.
Yes. Yes, something that is slip.
Mzee will handle. So don't get worried. The national resistance movement is in charge, and it will sort out all this mess.
The economy in trouble. 3.2% is pretty low. The lowest in 20 years. What does that tell us about where we're going?
These days.
Well, I don't want to make the Ugandan situation mutually exclusive from the other global situation. I think we are also subject to the other global forces which are affecting Europe, America. However, I think we are also lacking economic discipline. But going back quickly to the issue of Al-Shabaab, I don't think the solution is war.
Yes.
There has been war over 2,000 years in Middle East, and Israel is still, but
this has not come. All right.
Now we have to find another solution. When these guys, for whatever belief they are anchored in, when they decide to fight, it is forever.
Mazuru is saying
briefly. You want on the economy?
Very briefly, Rick Perry, when at the height of the primaries in the U.S., said the fundamentals of the U.S. economy was sound. The same thing was said by George Bush. I think that what has the picture painted by the Governor Bank of Uganda and many others that our economy is good, it actually stands to benefit from the global slump, was all but mere PR The truth of the matter is that our economy is doing worse than it is being said. They just don't want to admit it, and the sooner they admit it, the better, because we feel it. We are the ones who hold cash, who go to the market. We feel it. I think that there's so much wrong that if we do not have a fundamental shift in our approach to addressing the economy, we're going to be having a very big problem.
Does it have anything to do with governance? Some people think many people got money, campaign money, and it's what is destroying.
Well, I have no facts about that, but I think that economic problems in the country is a reflection of our policies and approach to economic matters.
Right.
This government has demonstrated before that it has messed up. It has spent money where it shouldn't supposed to spend. It has repeated our reserves. So it is possible it has a governance connection. But also, I think the people who are at the Bank of Uganda have got to come out and tell us the truth of what is happening in this economy.
Well, this economy is rewarding hard work. It is those who have been speculators who are feeling the pinch. I think it's very good.
What a message from my Kathy in Entebbe. She says Nandala is right. DP and the UPC acted as chameleons. She says bravo Nandala. She actually spells the name Nandala. Well, we have to go. Thank you very much to our dear guests, Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL, Mr. Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House, Dr. David Mushabe from the African Rainbow Conference, a peace-promoting NGO, and the President, the only one who had on the panel tonight, President Asuman Basalirwa of the JEEMA party. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond Kizito. Spectrum will be back on Monday. Have a very good week.
You can pay